60 or 70 yard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Harvest Gold,
I don't know if this is a church in Reno or like a Kington's house from 1970s Bel Air.
Yeah. Have you been to the Episcopal Cathedral downtown?
I think so. Is that the one kind of by the co-op?
Yes. They
Like
have
right there on Court Street?
Yeah, they've got.
I've been in there once.
They've got marble stained glass windows.
Yeah, I love
And
stained glass.
they've got the upper windows and the lower windows, which are much newer.
Yeah.
I don't care what.
See, your name is?
Melody.
I've got you on the so, it's right. I was going to read first and then I'll introduce you after.
That sounds terrific to me.
Yeah. In the room back there, in the chapel at the
Oh, yeah.
that's when they're from church.
Yeah.
And the Episcopal church, that's windows like that. That's how.
Yeah.
So the lower ones are very pastel.
Gotcha. I don't even really know why.
Because
I wasn't raised religious. It wasn't like a thing where I associated childhood. I just haven't always loved church.
I would know Franklin Graham stained glass house.
Yeah. Have you ever been to that house that's over the river in Pennsylvania?
No, I don't know that you're more considered.
You what?
I don't think I've ever been to
Oh, gotcha. I've been, at this point, I just haven't been to Alaska. That's it.
I've always wanted to travel, but when I had the chance to travel, I was trying to now that I've got time, still not.
$55 a year
For me these days, a trip is $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you get cheaper gas? Much cheaper gas.
Much cheaper gas. Yeah, they hook up the constituents. I'm like,
My father, this was back in the 60s and 70s. We were living in San Francisco area.
okay.
He would think of nothing but packing us all in the car for Sunday drive, and we'd enter to Monterey or Lake Tahoe.
Back when you could do that from Hayward to those places easily.
Just off the cuff weekend trips. These days, everything requires so much planning. My husband and sister-in-law both work weekends.
And they need you to drive. I didn't know you were a taxi driver.
More like an Uber driver. I don't use my own car and have to provide my own insurance.
I know.
Well, that's super nice of you.
Yeah, the three of us, if it weren't for the three of us living together, I don't think we could afford the rent.
Well, there's that too. I don't make enough to not live in a shared living situation.
$700 a month. Too bad.
That's a lot.
We're also better. We're also renting a garage.
Maybe if I pick more shifts at my work strip, I should afford that.
Living costs.
You picked a good time to do this.
No, listen, don't, I never, the only reason that I was able to afford to buy a house is that my father gave me the down payment. Otherwise, I would still be arrested. I expected this for my entire life because I could never get enough money
She said she was leaving the house to Robert. Father went a little. It was just, I'm in the house too. The brothers looked at me. He said, okay, I can do this and then I've never, I get back my family days, so that's everything else. I really love that.
Listen, I would too, but that's because I'm Serbian.
Yeah, you are every bit as certain.
Yes, I'm serious. I mean,
I love that about you.
people in my
That's not a derogatory remark.
people in my family would have taken Michael out, and nobody would ever have found out what they were doing. That was one of the reasons that Serbians moved to Nevada. Lots of desert places to bury them.
I always figured if I absolutely needed to, the wastewater hospital slash chuckling with the fields and way up instead of sewage, way up down. In 3 days, you'd be over guys.
She's doing the talk. So we're doing free hotel rooms. I just had to get it. She's like, well, she's doing free everything. But I just had to get it. Yeah.
Besides the fact that she's really
Well, yeah. Yes.
and that she really makes it.
And she does. Yes.
She's so
Small one.
Are you Melanie? See, her name is Ruth Reno. My husband David Seibert taught in the speech department and theater. Yes, yes, but I couldn't remember exactly how we knew each other. Okay.
Hello. Hello? Hello? Where is everybody here? All right. Welcome to First Congregational Church's third annual Poetry Festival. Thank you all for coming. In previous years, I've just introduced, but I thought this year I would torment you all by starting off reading some of my poetry, so that you can catch my bona fides, if you will. I am a published poet. I have a book out there entitled Poems of an Urban Hermit. Unfortunately, it's out of print. It was a very short run. This first poem I'm going to read to you. It comes from that book. The Urban Hermit Contemplates Bede the Obscure. Amid the piles of books stacked on every horizontal surface, miniature towers of Babel, leatherette covers attracting dust, the brush of paper on paper would seem the voice of God. How can I defile the page, so white, so clean, so perfect, fresh as new fallen snow before the breath of life disturbs its pristine crust? Words are the scratches of a dog who clamors to be let in. Words are nameless birds bereft of color, form, or song. Trembling at the periphery of vision, words are pale shadows longing to be sunlight, the ray of truth that melts the fallen cold, that vaporizes it to sparkling mist. The saints kept their thoughts aloof, hummingbirds who cannot bear their weight upon a branch, but flit from bud to flower, intoxicated on the nectar. Or bees, who gather pollen till it falls, a weight that cannot remain aloft, but plummets from on high and splatters across the page, the pristine Eden of God's unspoken word. This one was published in an anthology entitled An Eye for an Eye Makes the Whole World Blind. It was published the year after the 9/11 tower incident. And this was inspired by a photograph I saw in the newspaper of somebody jumping from the tower. You could see the shape of somebody falling from the tower. Into the arms of angels, for those who left from the World Trade Center. From the terror of fire, darkness, and broken glass on the 101st floor, you step out into the clear light of day. A quarter mile up, the wind blows lingering smoke from your hair, your torn shirt fluttering like wings in the morning light. For the briefest moment, time stands still. In that infinite moment, you tumble into a pas de deux with the sky. The wind, a thunderous accompaniment filling your ears. Manhattan gazes up, the tear-smudged face of a lover, her arms reaching for one final embrace. On a lighter note, we all seem to become our parents, whether you're turning into your mother or into your father. And I find myself turning into my father. I wrote this poem entitled Transubstantiation, which is a Catholic word meaning the substance changes but remains the same. That's why they believe that the communion actually becomes the real body of Christ. Transubstantiation. I think my father has moved in with me. I see him gazing over the tops of my eyeglasses, folding a newspaper, crushing cans for recycling. He turns off lights, shuts dripping taps, closes doors, and resets the thermostat. He's been in the yard, planting gladiola, tending roses, mowing the lawn, pulling weeds, and running an edger along the walk. He checks the car, pulling the dipstick, adjusting the mirror, checking the tire pressure, and cleaning the windshield. He's been fixing strange foods in the kitchen: oyster stew, milk and soda crackers, sweet pickles and green olives. He leaves stuff in the bathroom, too: a brush with too much hair in it, a tub of Icy Hot, a bottle of Maalox, half a dozen prescription medications. I find his rosary beside my armchair with a glass of warm milk, half finished and abandoned for an early bedtime. These days, an early bedtime is something I can only dream of. This one I call The Beauty of the Worn Out. I have a secondhand chair, blue and ivory fabric wearing thin, stuffing peeking through holes in the arms, cushions growing thin. I have a drawer full of flatware with mismatched forks and spoons, 3 different kinds of knives, a dining table that came from a secondhand shop, the top scratched with deep cuts like an abstract city map of a town that vanished long ago, name forgotten, people gone. My car is used. It's been around far more than the block. Even my dear spouse is stuck with a secondhand husband who's seen more relationships than I care to remember. The old and worn out has beauty that's sometimes hard to see. Our scars don't make us ugly, they make us unique. Back from my collection of urban hermit poems, this is Vespers at the Urban Hermitage. A black cat with white feet sits on the balcony railing and calls the faithful to prayer. Her golden eyes sparkle, twin votives that glow welcome in the twilight. In the cottonwood, a chorus of unseen birds sings a hymn of peaceful sleep. The sound of traffic on Virginia Street, half a block away, becomes a mantra. All is well, all is well, all shall be well. The cat stretches, yawns, rubs against the legs of sleepy faithful, her purring, a benediction on the night air. This is something I've written recently. Gutter snipes and prophets. The puddle in the garden reflects the puddle in the gutter reflects the stars. Yes, I can read. I promise you I can. The puddle in the gutter reflects the stars, a river of heavenly objects that follow the street and hold in its depths that seem impossible for a stream so shallow. It is a doorway to the mirror realm. Constellations dance across the surface. Comets swim through hidden depths. Headlights of passing cars exploding like supernovas in transliminal space. God, him, herself could hide in the unknown depths. Flotsam and jetsam of city life crowd the sidewalk. Angelic voices beckon. I leap straight into the multiverse, trying to enter a higher realm. I soak my shoes and find I'm already there. I have two more, and then I'll introduce the first poet. The urban hermit ponders the death of a mongrel. When the angel of death arrived, he took the form of a Ford Fairmont, the careless kiss offender sending the creature flying to the shoulder of the road, a casualty of fur and bones. After wind and rain anoint the body for burial, the animal community comes out to mourn. Fireflies and black ants arrive first, on a holy pilgrimage, carrying away bits of flesh and fur, receiving it in communion with the earth. Magpies arrive for the funerary feast, a whirligig of black and white. Lastly, maggots and worms, high priests of decay, attendants in the breaking down of tissue, hasten the return to the earth. Brother Dog, did you run with friends in those last few hours before dawn, seeking the wisdom of darkness? The moment of enlightenment arrived behind twin headlights, answers to that final question, the thing all wanderers seek. And my last poem that I'll read with you tonight, I decided to write my will early. This is Last Will and Testament. For all who are lonely, I leave you my smile, and a tear you can shed when you feel a need. To the irritated, I leave you my last nerve and half a jar of patience. There's not much left, so you'll have to spread it thin or supplement it with some of your own. To all who are afraid, I leave you my arms, my left arm to encircle you and hold you close so you can feel my beating heart, my right one to hold the beast at bay. To those who serve, I leave the key to the well of compassion and mercy. Drink deep, drink daily, lest your heart become dehydrated. To the full, I leave hunger, and the strength to do without. Finally, to everyone, I leave the laughter of children, the purr of a kitten, the enthusiasm of a puppy, the joy of dandelions, a pool of sunlight to sip from during your darkest nights, when the world is full of cold, echoing silence. I leave you permission to sing. Fill the void left by my voice with your own. Thank you. Our first poet up is Melanie Parrish. Melanie is a writer, editor, and teacher, student, born in Chicago, resident of Madison, Illinois, Bloomington, Indiana, New York, what's the Pan Gulch? Someplace in Utah. She is glad to call Nevada home, or at least she says she is. She regularly travels to San Francisco, Santa Fe, Texas. Melanie is grateful for her friends, family, and recovery, and continues to fight for social justice. She has looks like she's got a couple of published books, Passions and Gratitude, Black Rock Press, 2011, a collection of poetry and fishing poems, and a chapbook published by Meridian Press in 2017. She is a member of Poets and Writers, Inc., and continues to do poetry readings and has done poets in the school. So, thank you, Melanie Parrish.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you all. Thank you all for coming, because with so much going on, it's like, well, who needs poetry? And obviously, I believe that we do. For me, poetry is about discovery, and one of the reasons that I love Jesse's poetry and Lindsay's poetry is that I always discover something. Whether I read it or whether I hear them read it, I find out something about myself or I find out something about the world. This first poem is about the world. And it would be nice to see the words on the page. After a radio interview with recent immigrants, in a level voice, I heard a woman seeking asylum say that the Border Patrol instructed to call migrants animal, invader, criminal. Do this, and sometimes in several languages. No one reprimands patrolling agents on horses who use riding crops or reins to whip the immigrants as they stand or walk the border. She believes the great-grandfathers, the great-great-aunts, the third, seventh, and 10th cousins of these enforcers are vigilant ghosts. They must weep if they can weep, she says. Each lifts a wing to cover their faces. This poem is patterned after a poem by John Sibley Williams, and he wrote about a father, and I write about the rather puzzling relationship between a sister and brother. Brother as a pair of broken glasses, or pine needles clogging the gutter, as Bermuda grass gone feral, the all of summer in one muggy July where we sleep on our dead. A moth bumping against a porch light. Did it hurt the moth not getting what it wanted from the light? Brother, as a cartographer erasing the name of the town where we lived. How I want to remember you as candles lit in a power failure, and that these candles cast shadows where the shadows doubled the people and the darkness, as a hard rain that kisses every crack till it gives. And like Tim, some dates stay with you. This is called After Firewatch Reports, September 11, 2020. More smoke in the air, and I grieve for California. Everything else in my life shrinks to dust motes when towns and trees burn to ash. 19 years ago, smoke and ash in New York City, a field outside D.C., but Baghdad, Beirut, Paris, Nairobi, Hong Kong, all with their own moments of great devastation. Some days, I am as tattered as this world. I don't think of raindrops, kittens, copper kettles. I think of you. Somewhere, may you be at ease. May you find us camped wherever we are in the fire light. Ooh. This was a tough one. This was a tough one to write. And recently, I've been hearing a lot about emotional challenges and also about mental health. And here's a poem that touches on both. And I guess on a personal note, it's really important when I write to acknowledge some of the positive things, some of the successes, but it's also really important to acknowledge those failures. On a street that should be named Loss, he called and we walked, stopped in front of a brick house on Ralston. I think his lover used to live there, down the street from St. Mary's ER. He asked if I remembered last month when we were in Vermont, but we were never in Vermont. Nerves on DEFCON 1 because he was off his meds and on mushrooms or Humboldt County pot. In Vermont, he said, we tapped maple trees, drilled a trunk hole, pushed the spile in, heard sap run. We were magic. The trees were mystics in English and French. I'm afraid they'll tap my brain again, he said. I won't let them, I said, and neither will your brother. Let's stop there. I left him at his brother's house. I left him in better care than mine. I kissed his cheek before I left. His pain was wiser than my kiss. When I have had too much of the world, I write in other voices. And both Jesse and Lindsay have heard these other voices, and gratefully they have never come up to me and said, you are just whacked out. And in writing the other voices, sometimes I move into other worlds, part real and part imagined. I also happen to have a partner for decades who is a gardener, and I am a helper. Consequently, the name of this poem is What the Tomatoes Said to the Old Woman, and yes, the tomatoes are talking. We knew curiosity and the need to witness would bring you to us, despite rumors of our flirtation with inflammation. It's not as though you've never been inflamed. We feel you examine us the way you do any decision not born of habit. You liked us because your lover loved us. So juicy, so versatile, like your own appeal. We accept a diversity of skin, size, ability. It's a comfort for all of us to remain active after firm youth and the bold ripe of us passes. You have a penchant for tangle supported by frames. So do I. Ours are metal and bamboo. Yours a commitment to listening and language. We are all more interesting in September, somewhat surprised to continue growing this long, this well, to be this useful. We both consider our proximity to death and believe that any God will find us good or good enough. In this poem, the speaker is a collective voice. It's the godmothers, and the godmothers cropped up a couple of years ago. They have an opinion on everything. And in this poem, they're talking about insects. What the godmothers told of the pond. Call them water striders, pond skaters, wild clock hands moving. Back legs steer, middles push times thin membrane, a stream slow sealing. Short legs catch fish eggs, insects, something to feed tomorrow and a slim body. These creatures and we live light refracted, shadows to track speed and weight. Weight and time, shadows sharp or soft seeming, leave us. Then leave us light. This is a love poem, and it's called In My Life. I could live listening to the Beatles, still fishing, trail hikes, snowshoes clamped on could carry me to February fields. I could live alone or with you. Grow blue potatoes, cut kindling, tie flies while you find the best maps. You are flesh and seasons and baritone eyes. We nap, breaths even, wake with words, without words. Under a light quilt, yes, look at us, undeniably here. We are old, and I could be living now thinking of death as butterflies or mercy, while you do not think of death at all. Talk to your son. Our bodies promise surprise, a night with little sleep and still radiant the next day, an uncharted fall without fracture. The red taste of tomatoes garden grown, roasted at high heat. The heart's eye, John Lennon. The soul's conference call with saints all guide me. I could live, my bare feet in your naked hands. With all the cruelty around, I've been talking recently with friends about trying to focus on the goodness in people. And that's what this poem does. It also references a biblical quote from the Gospel according to John, which in the version that I grew up with reads, when he's talking about the coming of Jesus, "And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us." Gesture as small kindness. The 10th driver in a string of tail lights who lets another driver in to make the exit. Longtime lovers and the very married turn on both controls for the electric blanket. A woman whose covert hands slip you a tampon under the conference table in the staff meeting. The young man in the grocery store who sees you struggle, helps you tip the 30-pound bag of birdseed into your cart. We have so little time to figure out what being a neighbor is. A lifetime guarantee could expire today. What if these easily forgotten bits and minutes were the vocabulary of a life? What if, "Can I help you with that?" was really the Word made flesh? And this poem is patterned after one by Emily Munday, and it's an appeal to think of things somewhat differently, and perhaps a call to action. A calling. We have all been formally asked to gather in celebration, so let's unsnap, unzip, and rip hems out of the predictable and into transformation. Let's get wonder in our weird and remember not only the bend of sunlight on the garden fence, but to compost the stories whiteness taught us to swallow, while fire creates her own form, and we might too, while wind scours mesas and your mother's cheek. Let's loft the splendid, and while lightning cracks the black-backed sky, let's tongue rainwater off someone's thigh at dusk in tender rebellion of staying curious. Let's electrify the singing body, serious as laughter. Remember, embers too leave silence tall as cumulonimbus. Let's walk into the bluing of dawn, intensely expecting a parliament of creatures. The underbellies of mantas wear spot patterns like name tags in an endless saline blue, edgeless and muffled. Let's stretch between the ment and the mist and stroll a safety not gated but shared. Let's dig each other and potatoes, leave a porch light on for witness, feel the ache behind the good story told twice, Keep the cracked mirror that reflects light, because resistance shines, and we have a calling, elemental and in need of a cosmic celebration, and you have been called back. And this last poem is a gentle look at death and life. It's called A Closer Look. I could die with a limp, bleeding gums, a prayer near a counterspill shaped like the Virgin of Guadalupe. I could die of hives, with a phone that tells time, or shot on a city corner in the gut, a middle-aged man in Armani feeling for a carotid pulse with 2 fingers. Nothing, he says. See me there? My battle-born face gone gray, my lips blue in silent civil war, ICE agents on the street near Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow. I could die now, woman with scalpel and femoral artery, awake to the body's collage of synapse, cartilage, bone. But I live. Sea and beach, creek and tree crown, sagebrush and ash. My heart is in sync with riffs and rivers. Now it is jazz. Now it is rain. Now it is free verse. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Those are wonderful. Our next writer is Lindsay Wilson. Lindsay Wilson is an English professor in Reno. He co-edits The Meadow. His first two collections are The Elegy and The Day Gives Us So Many Ways to Eat. His writings have appeared in The Narrative, The Fourth Genre, and The Colorado Review. Lindsay is the author of 2 full-length book collections of poetry, including No Elegies, which is the winner of the Quarkus Review Press Award in 2014, and The Day Gives Us So Many Ways to Eat. He's also the author of 6 chapbooks. So, Lindsay Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for Jane for asking me to read. I'm going to read several poems. I'm writing a letter series of poems right now, and I'm going to read a lot from that. The first one is titled Letter to You About Home as a Song on Our Bodies. After a winter of deep snowpack, some called it the summer of roses. And so red rose from every garden, strong and so blood dark, I heard music. Did Anna hear it too, I wondered, beside our fence line of wild roses as my hands pulled the ripe fruit of heirlooms from the overgrown mess of San Marzanos and brandywines. I held those bright hearts free from their bodies in my palms while she blew smoke into our garden. She must have been imagining her escape, then back south. How often we argued over the word home. She believed home happened to you, and I thought we chose it. Home's an honest mistake. Like how every dusk that summer, she believed hummingbirds came by the dozens to the long-stemmed catmint that suckled there until the night crept in. The heart, like the mind, chooses what it believes. And I knew a sphinx moth when I saw one, knew our bodies were always our first homes, how we find our kin crawling in the tomato vines and honeysuckle, but later find ourselves standing in another state, feeling the hum of wing song on our skins as we drift among the flowers, uncoiling our tongues for that nectar we all somehow keep returning to. Okay, this one is titled Letter to You on Breaking My Silence. As we step out into the rain-sheened roads, I want to say, it's not fair a woman can be seen dancing in her backyard, but not a man. Still, I wear my quiet song like a bridle. Levine stopped reading poems once he began to memorize them, I say, to break the silence, as all the little lamps specter the curtains along the neighbors' windows. You take my hand and lead us to the grassy side of the road where the shy black horses stare back. How we want the words to make them follow us. It's language that makes us crazy, isn't it? I can't memorize poems. I can't hold music with my hands. But look how after the truck passes, all the brush along the road lifts and sways, then grows still beside these trees falling apart like me. But not all falls are fatal. And how pretty the field in its yellow armor. And how beautiful it is to know the ending, so I can take my eyes from the page to look at you when I say, it's not fair you can't break my silence like a horse. And it's not fair that I turn my dead into lights, turn the wind into a chorus in the dress, and dress the field in my armor. But how hard it is to turn these words into song with this bit in my mouth. Let's see. Where'd you go? Okay. This is a poem titled, Are You Happy, she asks? Kind of thinking a new title. Are you happy, she asks? How to answer when you lie in the damp, sticky aftermath of those rumpled minutes. She wipes away bangs to read your eyes. She knows you've never been comfortable using that word, but what other word fails less at the falling within your chest? Doesn't the cool air blow over you almost like a pardon from the cracked window? You tell her how just yesterday you watched a raven swing back and forth between trees and her nest, where two fledglings untangled Amnesty's wings. How the mother would land on the nest lip and then again and again fall so gracefully through the below to glide away onto the high top of a tree. Like this, she kept saying. This is how the falling save themselves in their falling. Yeah, okay. Let's see. This is a poem I wrote on a train out of Hamburg. It's called Letter to You About Making Electricity from the Wind. We sat in a train leaving Hamburg with the word summer on our tongues. All around us people spoke, but only you understood. The world green and gray and close through the street glass moved at remarkable speeds. You read about the Middle Ages as a mirror to understand now. I read Carver writing about Switzerland, grief. Along the hills, blades let the wind push through them to generate something else. You leaned on my shoulder, then turned from me. You closed your eyes to make it all go away, put your cheek against the window and thought about things we haven't told each other yet. There is, after all, history and then the dark ages. The night before still spun heavy above us. I knew we should only miss what was ours, that I had to resist the impulse to elegize a night like that. The red light district, an old friend playing drums in a beer-hot sweat of a bunker concert hall, grunge not knowing it had outlived its usefulness, and bouncers selling drugs at a lovely Thai karaoke dive bar. Eating very late at a donor restaurant, the streets slick with rain, you looked over your glasses and fiddled with an old engagement ring. Our banter creates something we can't make alone. That's why I love us. So are you the windmill or the wind? I asked. Not the point, you said. I didn't need to say anything then. Somehow you seemed to subdue the space around us. You clinked our beers together and noted that some people look visibly German. They can lament anything. I said Hamburg always looks better after a storm. The lights above flickered off briefly before pushing the night back out the door. You spoke of your friend Roy's sadness about his daughter growing up, and then morning opened like an eye, and then the train entered a tunnel, and then the world went away, but darkness is overrated. All of us want to reckon our past, Carver wrote. Yes, and sometimes we want the signs lit in multiple languages, want the man asking for the tickets to smile back at us, for someone like you to hold our hands when we exit the tunnel and the cloud-gray world returns, all blemish and rain, as we sit looking back into the direction we just left behind. This is a letter to my mother on burials. Mother, I know you came back as a squirrel, wounded and burrowed into my garden to die. You taught me not to touch the dead, and I didn't bury you then, so I didn't bury you today. Besides, if you dig a grave for your dead, you never stop. You look relieved in your ruin under these tassels of catmint. The bolted coriander blooms with the minor bees flying wild through its white hair, and the ground where you lie will grow more pockmarked each day with the holes they dig to hide their young. Their birth must look like resurrection to us. But what does it mean that only the mothers own stingers? I'm letting the maggots swell fat with you. I want the skull element cleansed, and such a beautiful thing, a spine, its ellipses of vertebrae. Did you know spine in Latin means thorn and prickle? I never told you. I hate when a poem tells me the etymology of a word, but you always kept a dictionary open to whatever you looked up last, little burr inked in the margins. Maybe I was wrong to mourn you without a grave, to toss my half of your ashes into the Pacific, but it seems cruel to limit the dead to a grave for the ease of the living. Most of us need some place to tend with a stone to lean against its shadow and a name to cast our eyes over, so we will have something to say to the wind as we sit waiting for it to turn its back to us and say nothing. Most days the wind can't complete a sentence, but today it keeps its mouth shut. And that silence mothers both kindness and cruelty. How our grieving never stops because of our damn memories. And only fools believe that there's something final in a burial. So please forgive me for finding comfort in the daily erasure of these ceaseless waves, leaving a clean shore for the footfalls of the living, only to be wiped away with each tide. Yes, I've wandered too far from that division between land and water, searching the high desert, my old problem. But Mother, vertebrae means joint and articulation, and as a verb, to turn. And so our backbones mean little thorns that turn into articulation so that the body, this one-time vessel, can be spelled into words, which means elegy's a spell cast over our remains like sun coming down on a skeleton in a desert that picks the dead clean, giving us some place to pull the weeds, to leave our losses where they fell. This evening, in my garden, my grief lifts from me with the day's heat, and nothing's certain, but if I raise you up now, dry as you are, you'd fall apart in my hands. Don't ask me how I know. Let's see, where do I want to end? I'm going to read this last one. I don't think I've ever read this before out loud, outside of my house. And it's a kind of happy one, sort of. Not really, but kind of. At times, it has that in there. It's called Letter to Arian from an Ashland farmer's market on luck. Arian's a friend of mine that Melanie and Jesse know well, a poet in town. Sometimes here, when our memories work after sex, Bernie and I bike down to the failing Science Center's parking lot, suddenly full of tents, and buy morels and radishes and local kimchi made by white people who use too much carrot. And I remember the mind is indeed its own place. I swear, if I just gaze at that goat cheese, I can taste my privilege. Here, where my biggest worry is buying a hunk of meat to use as a medium for this fermented hot sauce made by Joey down the street. Anthony Bourdain would comment here about the banality of farm to table and the overuse of the word sustainability while eating locally sourced goat cheese on Carol's homemade sourdough crackers, so you and he would feel both good and bad about ourselves and our appetites. But he could eat anything and stay skinny and forlorn, and I can't eat collard greens without smiling like a dupe. I thought everyone these days believed they grew up doing some crazy shit. But not here, in these 3 square miles surrounded by reality, which begs the question, how did we end up between the Honduran woman making tortillas and the bike valet while considering gyros or falafels from a hairy Greek named Nick, his silver St. Anthony medal winking in the light? St. Anthony knew something about violent men and the poor and held them in common with our mothers, who never promised us a life with mornings spent eating spanakopita made from feta pulled straight from the Oregon cheese cave. The line between where I was raised and where I'm standing somehow seamed together, which feels like a miracle after spending 20 years waiting for the call confirming my mother finally found the follow-through to end it because of love. So many times I wanted to write her, dying isn't that hard to do. She would have applauded Bourdain hanging himself in a French hotel room over a woman. So maybe it is a miracle to stand here in the phyllo-thin light discussing whether shiitakes or oyster mushrooms go better with a tarragon cream sauce. Who knew life could be so rich? Not you or I, Arian. I'm happy you slipped a ring on her finger, and I won't pat my back too much when I put my last $2 in the open mouth of the guitar case of the dirty, barefooted man who busks under the sycamore singing, "You think you're in heaven, but you're really in hell." These days seed many questions like, when did the song of our youth become classic rock? And how did Ashland become the city with the highest per capita of long-bearded white dudes in complicated hats? And is there a difference between a collar and a noose? Can I call you St. Anthony? Can I call St. Anthony Tony? Is that too informal? And does Tony know if we'll ever be comfortable calling this life a miracle? I know, Arian, men like us never deserved words like luck or love or muses because we grew up with a life as unfiltered as a Marlboro Red, and we're too skeptical of saints who lay miracles at the dirty feet of the poor. Though just this morning, Bernie taught me the names of these 2 Eurasian collared doves as we watched them fuck on a slender limb of daybreak before we followed their lead. And damn if this isn't our lives. These women showing us because we never knew we could simply look up so much of our time spent looking down, and just like that, find beauty with its feet swaying above us. Thank you.
Next, we have Jesse James Ziegler, the former poet laureate of Reno. And Jesse is the vice president of the Spoken News and Views Collection, the creative director for Monday Night Poetry, voted best open mic in the News and Reviews in 2024. He leads True Colors Poetry and Collective Breath Poetry Book Edition Club. He is a member of the Sierra Literary Cooperative, Sierra Arts Literary Community, and the Nevada Poetry Society. He is a spoken word poetry contributor to the Reno Arts. He is a very busy man. And like Likely bandit, he was named after Jesse James. I'm glad we were able to steal a little of his time to come read for us.
So I got to thinking about today's event being inside a church and all the different arenas and areas and regions and that I've felt a sense of church, or at least what I think a church should be. So that's the through line of my three pieces: experiencing church in a dive bar in Elko, Nevada, experiencing church in the just the high desert natural beauty that is right around here, and finally experiencing a sense of church, and by that I just mean joy and peace amidst a litany of headlines and political issues that are plaguing the present day. So I'm going to start with still early on a Friday night in Elko. There was a mention made by Timothy in Melanie's bio about celebrating recovery, and that's one of the aspects of this piece too. Still early on a Friday night in Elko. A bright neon green silver dollar stands watch as the club's eye in the sky near the corner of Commercial and 4th. Through the apathetic camel smoke refusing to settle, I can readily see the mango habanero flavored old smoky Tennessee whiskey looks far more fetching than my Michelob Ultra Zero. Yet danger often feels like a worthwhile time at first while masking a nasty aftertaste. At least I have my favorite pen tucked safely behind my ear, beneath the cuff of my black wool fisherman beanie, and I can still see straight enough to catch my breath before it's too late. A mixed breed, tricolor, middle-aged ranch dog wanders below my round table into my hanging right hand, assuring me it's all going to be okay. I have no idea who the four-legged human friend is, but I could care less at the moment for our bonding. Animals understand in a way humans can only hope and rarely strive to. The young men yelling random soiled epithets to each other between cackles standing haphazardly around the faded felt of the pool table seem to be getting along well enough to keep from killing each other or inadvertently injuring those like me at the nearby tables. The bartender has a nice smile, pleasant eyes, a steadfast spirit, and was kind enough to search out a piece of paper for me with at least a single blank side, so I thanked her with a tip equal to my initial bill, $6.25. I've paid more than $12.50 for a poem before, but always from somebody else. I ought to invest in myself more often, or at least stop giving it away. The forecast calls for snow in the morning, turning to rain by the early afternoon, 96% chance of ringing true. It is rare to encounter anything approaching certainty 25 years into the newest millennium. The roads will be wet. The future will be slippery. My demeanor may be icy, but they're all bound to warm up eventually. Dogs are rarely wrong about people. Dive bars show us what we're made of. And I might do markedly better in a smaller town than in a citified place. All the while, everything is grace. The triumphs and the songs, the lonely places we feel we don't belong, the solid knock of the billiard balls. Polite conversation, even the Marlboros and the Winstons jumping in with the humpbacks, the barking laughter blended with grief and loss, it's all grace. Being sipped from aluminum cans and plastic cups, frolicking in the night air, daring us to invest in the gifts we've been given. Some of them feel like blessings. Some of them feel like punishments. But all of them are gifts, and everything is grace. Waiting patiently to be taken down from the shelf, given to a stranger, allowed to roam freely and written down for posterity's sake, impossible to deny, difficult to forget, forever helpful. A second dog has wandered in now from the cold with a different caretaker, and I can kiss my friend goodbye. as he is much more interested in courting her now. There's someone for everyone, and mine is 290 miles due west, doing something she loves, allowing me the space to come to my very first gathering. I'm thankful for the pain, remembrance of the buried, for the setbacks, the lost lives, and the favorite pens I've misplaced over the years. For they've all mysteriously met up with me this evening unannounced, beautifully brought me to right here. You can't even buy a decent burger for less than $15 these days. But I managed to scrounge up enough change to afford a life lesson tonight before the Silver Dollar Club got too busy, before I overstayed my welcome, before I added to my list of regrets. Even regrets are grace. But sometimes it's best to quit while you're behind. I love you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Thanks for listening. All right. Second poem. Because growing up as a little kid, I always loved just exploring in the natural world. And living here has made me absolutely fall in love with the high desert. One of our opportunities in the Nevada Poetry Society was to take contributions for a 50th anniversary anthology called Sagebrush and Silver. I thought that was so cool for them to do that. But this was one of my two pieces in the book called Stillness. There remain magical places left in the world where, if you are still enough, you can hear the distant echoes which may tell you stories you wish to know. The biggest little city on Turtle Island is such a place. Along well-worn paths, those less traveled and where trailblazers haven't yet been, there are storytellers taking forms which blend into the land itself. Looking up at the sky, listening intently through the calls of ruby-crowned kinglets, chatter of the robins, songs of the house finches, alerting awareness of the scrub jays, and playful fluttering of the cedar waxwings, we can hear the echoes of the ancient chants over the fire from the ceremonial processions of the Numu or Northern Paiute people. Sifting the soil beneath the hardy roots of coyote willow, we can hear the echoes of light-hearted conversations of the Wasiwe or Washu people, weaving the fibrous branches of old into vessels for serving feasts. Below the stones lining the river's edge, helping to provide flowing life to the region, we can hear the echoes of blessings and prayers spoken over a nursing child by the Niue or Western Shoshone mother who was doing the same thing as the river then. Amongst the thorns of the woods rose, floating on the shifting wind, we can hear the echoes of those nameless and unknown longing to belong and be loved. We observe the birds. We trod the earth. We lay our hands upon the river rocks. We feel the flow of the water filtering through the past, bringing us up to date. We hear the echoes of their stories when we're still enough to do so, which then move us into action by first moving us within. Placing our own hands upon our chest, we feel the feedback of the child who once lived in this same body. We hear the echoes of them wanting us to live in more harmony with the land, in more peace with each other, and in more appreciation of these aging stories we are sometimes unwittingly surrounded by. That we may surround ourselves with unknown strangers who become friends by listening to their stories and remaining still together. That we may surround each other with calls, stories, songs, blessings, conversations, and prayers of love. Thank you all for listening. This is a much more, I run an open mic in a tavern every Monday night. This is a much quieter environment than that. So thank you. Thank you. I don't know if some of you may have seen it, some of you didn't see it, I don't know. Not all poetry is rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it's a response to something going on in the world. And back in January, under the then led by Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security posted an ad utilizing the text and a narrative read over of Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers. Only that was over this like Apache helicopter that was descending on an American city, or what was supposed to be an American city. And it was talking about like working for ICE was a calling from God. And after I threw up in my mouth a little bit, I started to write this. Taken away. If I am suddenly taken away, the privilege and blessing of helping to steward your life here upon this earth is among the greatest responsibilities and honors that I've ever had. I hope you rest well, sleep well, and dream well all the days of life after I am gone, knowing that I love you with my whole heart, and wherever I fell short, I was only trying to help. Please, do not hold my shortcomings, of which there have been plenty, against Almighty God. Any shine I had in the dim and the dark was merely an attempt to point you home to them. Perfect love in perfect relationship, which God willing is where I will see you again someday, somehow. I will continue to love you where I'm hoping to go, where I believe I will end up, but it will look different and feel different then. I won't be able to hug you, but you will still be able to look up at those stars. I won't be able to hold your hand, but you will still be able to sit beside the ocean and listen to the waves. I won't be able to work beside you, but you will be able to continue the mission. For there are two things no one, under any circumstances, can ever take away from you. And those are prayer and imagination. And I'm with you in both. Blessed is the blank page, for it holds the prism of potential we all hope remains possible. Blessed are the empty stage and the open mic, for they hold the power of passion and peacemaking, intertwined for public performance and play. Blessed are those who have found a home in these, that they may be a shelter in the storm. Blessed are those who share aloud from a bravely vulnerable place, creating catharsis that their reason, release, and relief may find a way into healing all the days of their lives. Blessed are the social activists, the teachers, the mutual aid groups, community center volunteers, chosen family members, and all the other angels of the get-through who welcome strangers in from the cold to warm themselves by the fire and find rest. Blessed are those who continue to be poetry in motion and inspire all who put pen to paper and fingertips to keys. They, guided by the Holy Spirit, are the hands of deliverance, justice, and redemption. Blessed are those who refuse to dim their shine in order to help light the way home. Blessed are those who break vicious cycles and help grow gardens from the graves of their emotional inheritance. Blessed are those who build things which help others find belonging. Blessed are the servant leaders. Blessed are those who simultaneously honor the ancestors, the present moment, and all future generations by remaining compassionate and true in the stories they tell. Blessed are those who stand in the gap. Blessed are those who pour out, pour in, that everyone may have their fill. Blessed is our beloved community, which cultivates and celebrates all of the above. For ours is the kingdom of heaven. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jesse James Ziegler. And now the last of our featured poets, Wayne Carlson. He is a former member of Ash Canyon Poets and all-around good guy. Or are you all rectangular good guy? Come on up and read us out.
Thank you. I'm not a poet except for having typed these words up on a piece of paper, so I'm not published, except on my own volition. So and will read you some of my poems. This one's called The Ministry of Meaning. With trepidation, I opened slowly the door of discovery, daring to inquire what meaning means. Words unraveled, origins and history, explanations, synonyms and antonyms. Yes, minister, explain to me what is meant when words connect with mind as reflection, as connection, as distraction. Are you the arbiter lingua, the saint of sentences, the mediator of mendacity? Or do you light the lamp of truth? Is meaning my quest, or understanding, or argument, or persuasion? The minister of meaning spoke. The quest belongs to you and you alone. Be wise in your wandering. This one's called Without Words. Without words, I've spoken volumes, loud, soft, and plenty. Silent meditation, thoughts float by, listening to nature's songs. Words drift into awareness, then dissipate into unconsciousness. Collections to be organized for recall, stored as if a library of thoughts, curated by the librarian of mind, shaped by dream state images for storage and retrieval. A dictionary, a thesaurus, a compendium, there for the poet, the writer, the reciter, to dip a ladle into the word soup, seeking coherence from chaos, comity and comedy, tragedy and transformance. Tears. Stinging winds whip my eyes, opening salty spigot which flows like spring runoff down my cheeks until puddling on my chest. These same tears, sweet with salt, are tears of pain in body or mind from life's changes. Tears of joy also rain on cheeks swollen by smiles in widening grin. With eyes bright, these tears we crave. Collect these tears, cherish them. They'll be the reservoir stored for needed use on days of despair or joy. Shadows of love. Born out of pain, buried, endured, until voices rise in song to say, I'm free to speak through song my pain, our pain, not heard. Chord sequences invite the listener to receive my truth. Cadences, repetition in 2 lines embed and advance understanding. Story unfolds with a chord change. Turn of phrase unravels the lines. An image reveals pain and resolves into a sense of self. Southern black voices gifted the blues genre. Universal lament about love lost, ungained, unsolved. Soulful tunes, shadows of love. Don't cast your boat in a river of tears. Rivers flow over rocks, tumbling and turning, carving a meandering trail, dividing land into opposing banks. Sometimes a river is ridden by humans in a boat, careening along the banks seeking lower ground downriver. Like a river flow, so do we. Our emotional boat banks off rigid channel walls that define and refine us. Sometimes we overflow, like a river, only of tears. Tears not of joy, drain from us bitter, sad, lonely, spilling as if a river ever onward, carving tracks in our faces like stones. But don't cast your boat in a river of tears. They dry up, leaving you on barren shores. This one I wrote about time change. Nature's rhythms. 1 hour forward, 1 hour back, so we move our clocks to save light from darkness. Nature does not cooperate. Light rises on its own clock, as does the darkness, indifferent to saving time. Nature's rhythm and rhyme, its poetry in cycles certain, like seasons 4, each distinct in its display, robust revelation and resolve. And since Artemis went to space to loop around the moon, I wrote this poem called Artemis. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, Artemis, the space huntress, goddess of hunting and transitions, nature and chastity, patron and protector of young girls, soars moonward into space. Ironic, her name in these days symbolizes soaring away from Earth, where young girls were not safe, nor protected by those unhunted. We celebrate escape from gravity while anchored by accusations. Perhaps the Epstein Files investigation should be renamed the Artemis Ascension for survivors who rose up and raised voices as huntresses and protectors, calling for transition away from protecting patriarchs toward protection of the chastity of children. Fly high and strong, Artemis. Bring us hope and healing. Thank you.
Those are our featured readers for the day. We're going to have a little intermission. We've got lots of goodies back in the manly room back there, and when we come back, we're going to bookend our open mic reading with two members of the Christ family. Debbie Christ will start us off with a poem and accompany herself on harp, and Fred Christ will wrap us up with a string tune on the pipes. So we've got about 10 minutes to enjoy ourselves with food and snacks. Help yourself. Hello, we're back. Our first person up is Debbie Christ, who is going to charm us with her harp music and a poem that she's written, inspired by the harp music, or is it the harp music inspired by the poem? Debbie Christ.
I was telling people at the table I was sitting at that my poetry is inspired by deadlines. I've written about 3. This is a story in poetry form, and it's about when I was a grad student in geological engineering at the University of Idaho, which is in Moscow. That's northern Idaho. So I was one of the few women in the engineering school at the time. It's called Dog Days of a Graduate Student. A female graduate student in a male-dominant profession. I always have to be best. Best at academics, best at taking professional opportunities, best at being in the right place at the right time. Best at being indispensable to the professors who need to be impressed. So, I teach a lab. I'm learning what I need to know the day before my students. I get to know the professors, their wives, their quirks, and their interests. So I don't go hunting with the guys. I learn all the details when they return. I go to the parties and eat their kill. But it's not enough. These professors hold my future in their hands. I need to be all I can be to them. I volunteer. This time, it is to dog sit. It is a 4-day trip into the wilderness. I stay in the professor's home, take care of his aging husky. Dogs. I can do dogs. Yes, I'll do it. No, don't pay me. I'll do it for free. So the day arrives. It's cold and crisp. Typical for hunting season in northern Idaho. I can see my breath. It's not a day I want to spend extra time outside. I get enough of the cold as I walk everywhere I need to go. The house is cozy. I'm warm. I'm relaxed. Until it's 1 a.m. and the aging husky needs to go out. I can't deny him. My duty is to let him relieve himself. One problem. The yard has no fences. I was not warned about any potential problems. I can only assume he will go out, do his thing, and then return to the warm house. I open the door. I see ice crystals in my breath. I see the full moon. The frost twinkles on the frozen grass. A freight train whistles in the dark, coming closer, then fading as it passes a town. The sleepy dog comes alive by the chill in the air. He leaves the porch with a deep, husky howl. It sends shivers down my spine. Or are those shivers of cold as I wait to let him back in? He howls again. He starts to run. The yard will not hold him. No. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Okay. His coat is lit by the moon, and it fades as he trots to a place only he knows. The shadow is dim his form. The dog becomes invisible. The cold I feel becomes the cold of fear. What if he doesn't come back? What if he gets hit by a train? What if he runs with the coyotes who answer his call? My shivering increases. I call his name. I wait. I call again. Minutes pass. A quarter hour. More. I can't stay outside, so I call. close the door, and listen. Howls are less frequent and farther away. I can't fail at this. I pray, I open the door to the cold, and I call. I close the door and shiver some more. An hour passes. More. Maybe I doze. Maybe I don't. I keep peering from the door, hoping this time will be different. More unanswered calls from the open door. I'm hoping the neighbors' homes are well sealed and soundproof. The dog is the only living creature that can't hear me. What am I going to tell the professor? How am I going to demonstrate my worth after this? I don't dare call the professor. It's the middle of the night. Besides, that idea would never work. Mobile phones have yet to be invented. I start making up explanations. Then, when I fear the worst, I hear a howl nearby, and another. I open the door again. It's the cold before dawn, but I don't notice the decrease in temperature. I see a light-colored moving shape. Not moving fast, but coming my way. I open the door wider, and the dog nonchalantly enters past my legs. In his dog way, he looks at me and says with smiling eyes, "What else am I supposed to do with a full moon?" I sigh. I shake my head. I can't wait to go through this whole routine again tomorrow night. When did the professor say he would be back? Okay, the piece I'm going to play is called "A Walk in the Winter Forest." The winter part applies, but what I liked about this piece, and I wrote the poem before I found the music, is that it's different interpretations of a theme. You'll recognize a theme, and you'll hear it over and over again with little tweaks. And I consider each tweak of the theme one more time that I opened the door and there was something different, but basically it was the same. The dog wasn't there.
They say that angels play the harp in heaven. They can't possibly play as well as Debbie Christ. Our next poet up is Karen Lang.
Oh my, I had not known I was going to immediately follow these wonderful poets and then Debbie. I have a poem that I did not write, I wish I had, but Martha Collins wrote it. It's From the Sky, and it's very apropos of several of the things that have been going on in Reno over the past few weeks. You'll see what I mean. Snow will fall from the sky. Snow will turn to rain. Rain will fill our streams. The earth will turn again. Snow will turn to rain. Blossoms will fill the trees. The earth will turn again. Petals will fill the air. Blossoms will fill the trees. Petals will fall like snow. Petals will fill the air. Green will fill the trees. Petals will fall like snow. Petals will fall to earth. Green will fill the trees. Where air was, leaves will be. Petals will fall to earth, leaves will fall from trees. Where air was, leaves will be. Leaves, where there was snow. Leaves will fall from trees, colors will brighten the air. Leaves, where there was snow, leaves will fall to earth. Colors will brighten the air like hair and blood and skin. Leaves will fall to earth where we will fall from our lives. Like hair and blood and skin, leaves will turn to earth where we will fall from our lives. Where we were, air will be. Leaves will turn to earth, rain will fill our streams. Where we were, air will be. Snow will fall from the sky.
What was the name of that poet again? Who wrote that?
From the sky.
Pardon?
From the sky.
What was the name of the poet?
Martha Collins?
Martha Collins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And now we have Daniel Moser. Thank you, Daniel. The mic's yours.
Hello. I had problems with phonics and dyslexia when I was younger, so I'm not as accomplished as some of the other poets. And probably here I write short story poetry. And I like to read one of the poems that I guess somebody submitted one of my poems to be part of a Hallmark Cards thing, and they wanted to dissect the poems into little things they could use, and the rest of it they would throw out. So I didn't allow that to be done. So it's called Our Autumn Days. These autumn days I'll spend with you, watching the leaves change to gold, red, auburn to brown. There's a chill in the air, and wine and candlelight set for two. The wine is getting warm, the candles are burning low. Maybe I set my dreams too high. Maybe I didn't look far enough, because these are the autumn days of harvesting what you reap, of swirling frost pressed upon window panes, of family Thanksgivings and Christmas cheer, of love and happiness, so we end another long year. The first winter snow has fallen. The door swings open. Oh, how I love you, dear. Come lie with me. Come lie with me by the crackling fireside to keep us warm. These autumn days I'll spend with you. In the fireplace, embers are glowing slowly down, and we watch as the last of the candlelight softly flickers out. And this poem is called Coming Home. I used to travel home along this winding road where memories stood, now long and deep, and the cries of youth filled these ears of happy times and deep sadness too. A wise man said, you can't travel the same road twice. Home's only carried in one's own heart, over distant mountains, across many seas, till I've come home, deep in this valley low. I can't explain. Maybe home is not the same. It's not the place. Maybe I have changed, or maybe now how these old tired eyes perceive this world. Because I no longer see you there in the home we once shared. You can't travel the same road twice. A wise man said, or you lose your way in those hopes, dreams, and lost memories of long ago. I'm coming home along this winding road, home I've locked away home I've locked away now till the end of these days. And if I could get the other one. Sorry. These things. Give me a second. Okay. See if I can find that other one. Oh, here it is. This is called Time. Time is fleeting. Time started, we can't erase. Time seems endless when hollowed up by space and taken away only with grace. Humans have our memories to hold us all in place. Memories are always of our past, never forward. Our futures are always changing like winds in a storm. We are all eggs on a wall, fragile, never expecting to fall. Time, time, time stretches like a thread upon its wheel. We are only here for a blink of an eye. Tell me which lasts longer in your mind, love or time? Which is easier to leave upon its wheel? Time is fleeting. Time started, we can't erase. Time seems eternally endless when swallowed up by space and taken away only with grace. Love is eternal and forever, like one's soul. It's on a different plane. Most of us travel along as long as God's will allow. Only God can control time straight outward into space, and now taken away only by his grace. And I have a follow-up to that time one. I read that for my mom, and she somehow, at the end of her life, she looked at time differently, so she liked the poem. And this one I wrote after she passed away. It's called Time 2 for Love. Love is only the space between us. As long as there's time, there's been love. God, in his infinite wisdom, created the earth, the sun, women, children, men. And we're glad the Spirit did. When you're in love, time seems to flow forever. And in heaven, they say, there's plenty of time for loved ones, family, and friends. Love and time are like the sun and the moon, following each other across Earth's skies. Time is like water running through one's hands. No one can hold on to time. But no one knows but everyone knows history's lovers lovers here in time, doomed lovers that is only written about in dusty old books. Can we explain love? Sometimes love is a poem trying to find its rhyme. Love is only the space between us that time isn't here to divide. Love is like heaven. It's infinite in its design. So if time stretches forever, love and time are lovers following. Love and time are lovers walking here with us on our journey side by side.
Thank you, Daniel. enjoyed your poetry and look forward to hearing more from you. Now, Becky Seibert. Becky.
I'm terrified. I didn't realize that I would be in company with this much talent. I'm not a poet, but sometimes thoughts just come to me that I have to write down. This is one. Age brings loss. Loved ones, friends, abilities, memories, quickness of mind and body. Yet, diminishing responsibilities and expectations make room for new blessings. Deeper awareness of beauty and bounty, perception of others' needs, and of my unique ability to help. Freedom to explore new ideas and learn new skills. Experience in calming anxieties and fears in myself and in others. And wisdom to see the bigger life picture and take a longer view. I will not mourn my losses, but give thanks and revel in my gains.
Thank you, Becky. All great poems start out with a few scratched-down thoughts. The only difference between you and Shakespeare is you're alive. Next, we've got June Zavoria. No?
And neither is Izzy. So we have Fred.
Do you have June's poem to read?
Yeah, we have Fred.
Oh,
June could not be here. You want to look at the board?
I've got the paper here.
Yeah, I know. We got these two were not able to be here. And Wayne already went.
Oh, okay. Well, Fred, you want to come up and charm us with...
Sorry, we should have given you the list too, instead of just having it up here.
I find the music of the pipes to be quite stirring. Yeah, I may only have three drops of Scots blood in me, but I find it stirring nonetheless.
Let's see, which one do I want to do? Dolphins by Carol Ann Duffy. Dolphins explored the sorrow of captive dolphins, mourning the ocean past, freaking a big feature in conflict. Dolphins stand out in Scottish poetry by creating a deep emotional struggle through accessible language and powerful image, unlike some traditional Scottish work rooted in history of landscapes. Duffy focused on universal feelings of conflict and loss. Her promptness to the dolphins in the world in both reliable and through powerful, making it an important part in modern Scottish poetry, raising far beyond Scottish borders. World is what you swim in, or dance it is simple. You are an element, but you are not free. Outside this world, you cannot breathe for long. Others may have my shape, the other's movement. Marvins and Douglas from Mammoth by Sir Walter Scott. This poem is written in English by the Scottish poet. Arthur Rawlins Scott is not only describable for the motion bets in the history of Scotland, but also to find boots about the modern nature of brewers. It gives us a detailed account of the reasons why the Battle of Fulton was invaded between the Scots and the Brits. Though British earned victory, Walter Scott highlights the enduring power of the Scots. My castles are my kingdom alone. From trumpet to founding stones, the head of Douglas is our own. You never shall in friendly grips the hand of such a Marmon grist. Remains to this day the Curry associated with Scottish identity and part of the fabric of Scottish culture. Believe these men with souls so dead, who near to himself out said, "This is my own neighbored land," whose heart's hill now within he burns. This is by Robert Burns.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Fred. I've often said the three most important parts of poetry and music are the page, the voice, and the ear. And without the ear, the voice is irrelevant. So thank you all for coming.